Thanks for joining me for this module recap. We've come a long way. We began by defining terms, explaining the principles of economics, and outlining how economists think about deforestation. I then introduced the theory that economists use to justify a government role for addressing environmental issues like climate change and tropical deforestation. We learned that negative externalities provide such justification and a way to evaluate the impact of different policy instruments. We also learned that benefit-cost analysis and marginal decision-making play an important role in outlining how to determine which policies best internalize and solve externalities. Finally, we discussed the policy instruments appropriate for addressing tropical deforestation and divided these into three broad categories: standards and targets, economic instruments, and behavioral incentives. The experts I interviewed explained how a mix of these instruments has been used in the Brazilian Amazon to reduce deforestation, how this progress has recently been reversed, and what might be necessary to address this increase in deforestation while considering both equity and efficiency. An interesting context for this argument that I've been making for a policy mix is that change, like a rocket, moves forward with fuel and in the face of friction. The truth is that if we did not have the policy mix that Brazil is currently using, deforestation would continue at an unabated rate that would likely strip the forest of its ability to produce water and result in a Brazilian Amazon that is far different than the one that we recognize today. But at the same time, the impact of these policy instruments has been reduced by resistance to climate policy. Behavioral incentives are designed to address this friction and are largely missing from Brazil's arsenal. In addition to bolstering the current standards and targets and economic instruments, it would be advantageous to address this last category of incentives as well. That is, create a campaign that adds the preservation of the Amazon to the national identity and use this identity to leverage the international support and resources that can be used to preserve this ecosystem that is valued by the global community.